I concur, of course, Your Honor.
Well, I do want to let you know that, as I think you might have heard, Judge Broderson has been appointed to the Division F and assigned to Division F. And so she will be begin managing the docket for this division. Current anticipated plan, you see Superintendent Ford is trying to get in. Let him in. The current anticipated plan is that she would start managing the docket on May 2. At any rate, what I believe would be appropriate so that we do not lose track of this case. Of course, obviously, if parties settle the case and you dismiss the case, that resolves anything. But I think it would be appropriate for the court to reset the motions that were supposed to be resolved today for a time certain, subject to cancellation should the case resolve. That way, we can just try to keep the matter moving. Mr. Gant, do you have a recommendation on how much time might be reasonable?
Out of caution, I would say 45 days should be long enough. What's it 30, but at least 45 days as a matter of caution should be long enough. I don't think we need 60 days, but that's a nice round number also. No more than 60 days, Your Honor. No more than 60 days.
Mr. Johnson?
Your Honor, I actually concur, and the only reason we would need that much time is I think everybody, or Mr. Gant and I, and maybe those also in attendance would agree, some of the things that need to happen involve kind of the leadership of COGIC, and they have certain set schedules. We have to wait for meeting times and things of that nature. So I would be hopeful 45 days is plenty, but I was going to offer 60, but I wouldn't put any more than that.
With that comment, it sounds like Mr. Gant, you don't necessarily disagree with that suggestion.
Yes, correct. 60 days should be sufficient. Your Honor, we just as a matter of information, we need to do a couple of things in order to solidify a soft agreement that we have now. So we get those things done, then we can make a firm agreement, and then therefore this is the case. So it's for us to get some things done on our calendar, Judge, outside the court.
All right. So I will enter an order. Go ahead. Someone else is trying to get in by telephone. I will enter an order on this matter, resetting the hearing from February 10th on any motions that were pending at that time. As I understand it, it was the defendant's hearing on the motion for rehearing, or in the alternative motion for reconsideration or motion for clarification. And as I think we pointed out at that time, of course, whoever, myself or Judge Broderson, didn't hear the original hearing. So we may have to hear the matter de novo to determine whether any clarification, modification, or should be conducted, unless you have a transcript of that hearing, which in looking at the file, I have not seen one. So I'll put those notes in the proposed order, and we'll go from there.
Right.
And I apologize to everyone for the court's oversight in this matter. Although, fortunately, I'm pleased that apparently the parties are working together to hopefully come to a mutually agreeable resolution of this case. That is always advisable. So,
yes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, everyone.
Thank you, Judge.
And I'll get you a date and time. As a matter of fact, let me hang on. I can give you that date before you exit the hearing. Apologies, I needed to ask you about how much time you really thought if it was actually going to be a rehearing, which it sounds like it needs to be.
Yeah, I think, but 2 hours, Your Honor, 2 hours should be sufficient. 2 hours.
How long was the hearing last fall?
The first was about 4 hours, Your Honor.
Well, the court's going to have to hear the whole thing.
Right.
to resolve whatever the issues were, since there's no transcript. So
Right.
technically, it's not a rehearing, but it's a notice of hearing.
If I may, I thought the issue, and that could be somewhat wrong, but their motion is to have a rehearing prior motion, and they have to lay out grounds or certain factors in which to make that motion valid or justified. And
Well, that's my point, Mr. Gant.
I thought that was the end of the day, rather than hear the whole motion again, the initial motion again, to not to retry the initial hearing, but to.
I would agree with you if we had a transcript that the judge could review to be familiar with what Judge Danheiser heard and decided. But here we have replacement judge, myself, or in this instance, it's going to be Judge Broderson. And she has no knowledge of what went on at that hearing. So arguably, it's a de novo hearing on the temporary injunction in the nature of a motion for rehearing, but it has to be de novo since no one has the transcript of that proceeding for the court to review.
Okay, and that because we need, I said 4 hours, 4 hours, Your Honor, 4 hours.
That's what I was thinking. That's why I was asking. Do you agree with that, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Moulton.
If I may, I'm sorry, Your Honor, one point I forgot to mention, Judge, if I may. Your Honor, if I may, Your Honor, when the court see fit to allow me to.
I was talking to my judicial assistant. I've been out of the room, so go ahead, Mr. Gant.
I'm sorry, Jeff, I forgot to mention that the precursor to the motion rehearing is our objection to the asserting that the motion for hearing was not filed timely. That must be resolved first. Was the motion for hearing filed timely? That was not decided at the last hearing before the court. So I think the first thing is to take that issue up. They should be taken up in a matter of, I guess, half hour, an hour at the most. So I will want to set that hearing first, because if it wasn't filed timely, then there's no basis for a rehearing. The court may recall the issue of whether Mr. Johnson properly served the opposing party with this motion to the extent that the service was timely. We spent some time on that, discussing that issue before, and the court ordered Mr. Johnson to present something in this hearing that verifies his position. Of course, if we continue, that's not necessary now, but that issue must be resolved first, Your Honor. Was a motion filed timely, in essence?
All right. Was Mr. Johnson, any comment on that?
No, I mean, procedurally, certainly, Mr. Gant is correct that since the plaintiff wants to go forward on that issue, it would, I would imagine 30 minutes would be sufficient, in my opinion.
I agree.
There's really no witness testimony. It's the way it was filed and served is the way it is. So I would think a pretty minimal hearing would be necessary. And, and Mr. Gant's correct. If the court finds that it wasn't timely filed, then we wouldn't be entitled to the de novo hearing.
Well, I can look at the matter today. Is there any objection to that? I mean, it has not been noticed.
Yes, Your Honor. I object, Your Honor. I object for today.
All right. Well, if you're objecting, then how long do you need to be ready for a hearing on your objection to, or basically the motion to strike the matter as being untimely?
2 weeks to a month, that should be ready, or sooner. 2 weeks, mid-May.
Mr. Johnson, is that adequate?
That would be fine with us, Your Honor.
All right. Well, then I think can probably get you a hearing date on that fairly quickly. Just a moment, please. All right, check my judicial assistant. We have available May 10 at 9 a.m. Central Time. And that will be with Judge Broderson in all likelihood. Mr. Gant, is that acceptable?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So, Mr. Gant, on this matter, because it's on your objection to the timeliness of the motion, I'm going to request that you submit a notice of hearing for May 10 at 9 a.m. on your objection to the timeliness of Mr. Johnson's motion for rehearing, an alternative motion for reconsideration, and motion for clarification. And you need to note on, and I'm going to go ahead and tentatively set the date for June 22 at 1 p.m. If the matter is, rehearing is granted, and the motion is found timely, subject to cancellation. So if you'll do the notice of hearing on your objection to the timeliness of the motion, and I'm going to set the hearing subject to cancellation. Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, and I certainly didn't want to interrupt, but I am actually scheduled for trial that week,
Okay.
and I don't see that case resolving. It's unfortunately it's out of the county too.
Okay.
I have to file that.
Sorry about that. Just a moment. Mr. Gant, well, let me see. Would the next week be acceptable? That's a little over 60 days.
Yes, sure. That's fine. Yes.
Yeah, I should be good the week of the June 27th, Your Honor, if you have a date.
Thank you.
Oh, I take that back.
Again, Judge Broderson, huh? Wow. Yeah, she's in juvenile now. She's very
All right, we have Friday, July 1 p.m.
Friday, July 1.
Is that acceptable for you, Mr. Gant?
Yes, sure, that's fine.
All right, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very well. So, Mr. Gant, once again, you'll submit the notice of hearing on your objection, and I'll enter the order tentatively scheduling, actually it's setting the hearing subject to cancellation should the objection be granted.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, Judge, I have it. 9 a.m., May 10th, 9 a.m. On my
Correct. All right. Once again, my apologies, everyone, for this confusion, but I'm hopeful that you can resolve the matter. And of course, Mr. Gant, the burden will be on you to cancel both of these hearings should the matter resolve before both hearings happen, or if the motion or your objection is denied, should the case resolve before July 1.
If Mr. Johnson, thank you, Judge. I will. If Mr. Johnson clients corporates, it should be resolved. If they incorporate, we'll see what happens, Judge.
I wish everyone well. Thank you very much.
Confident. Thank you, Judge.
Good day now.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Okay, can you all hear me?
I could hear you.
Okay, what did you think?
I missed the beginning, but isn't that what I told Felicia yesterday? Y'all should not be going to a hearing until you're prepared to put the terms on the record. That to me sounded like they ain't resolved nothing.
They had. I mean, but see, everything is already resolved, but they're sitting there going back over this as if they didn't even just go to court and they didn't handle this stuff at April call meeting. That's I don't understand. I'm just like, what?
No, you're saying that everything was resolved, but like I told you, when you told me that, I said no, unless they got something in writing where they've already agreed and they've had. Now it sounded like Gant was like, hopefully if Mr. Johnson cooperates. Like what? If the terms are already together, then what's the issue? Who cares about whether you were timely served or not? All that stuff is moot. If you resolve your issue, you just resolve your issue, dismiss the case. That's why I said they need to be prepared to put stuff on the record. There should have been a conversation a week or two ago. This is what it is. This is what COGIC said, and Gant is representing COGIC. So this is what you got to do. What, he didn't get the memo?
That's all I'm saying. I'm so confused with this because I'm just like, if y'all handled this stuff at April call meeting, the only thing the judge asked for was because even Johnson was like, well, this, the church does this a certain way. We got to wait for them, blah, blah, blah. Well, like I told Felicia, I said, I wouldn't bank on the church.
No, absolutely not.
Because you need to have this stuff in writing. And if they said everything is squashed, everything is done, and y'all can move on, do what y'all need to do. If that's what's being said already, then y'all need to have that stuff on paper. Now, y'all ain't got the paperwork. Now they gonna sit up out here and try to act like ain't nothing even happened.
Yep, pretty much.
But the crazy part is what me and you both said, what you and I both said, we already got video, audio, video footage of what they said at April call. So if they renege on this, that's on them. This further makes the church look unintegral, for lack of better words. Because this is really sad. It's really sad. It's really sad. Like y'all out here really cutting up like this, and this what y'all doing. Y'all are not even trying to go and keep your word on what you said to these people. And from hearing Gant and even Johnson, this is the sad part about it. Like
I gotta hear it from the beginning because I missed the first couple minutes. My greedy self was trying to make some food, so I was like, "Dang, did it start at 10 o'clock?"
Let me see if I could rewind. Let me see something.
So I have to see. Now I did catch. Obviously, it was some mix-up where he wasn't prepared, but I don't understand how Gant should have been prepared to go forward today with whatever objection he had because he's the one that filed it.
He said something about they didn't file in a timely manner. Like they didn't file in a timely manner.
Yeah, they trying to say that it wasn't served. He did the argument last time. It was like the court rule says what service is and blah. Well, it don't matter because I'm sure they got some type of curative way where as long as it wasn't prejudicial. So I don't understand. But why does any of that matter if you guys resolved? Who cares what was? I guess something that had to do with the injunction. They wanted a rehearing. So they wanted a rehearing on the injunction. And so Gant responded and said that their notice of rehearing was untimely according to their court rules. So that's why they were saying that if the court finds it was untimely, then you're not going to have a rehearing anyway. So they're like scheduled to have a whole hearing in 2 weeks on the injunction.
Wait 1 second. No, they're pushing this thing all the way out to July.
What they say was going to happen in May.
No, they moved all of that stuff because the one guy, Johnson, has a trial. He said
Oh, okay.
that's
That
not
must
going to
have
be
been
okay.
when I walked away. Because I
Yeah,
thought he said it was fine at first, and then I think he did say, wait a minute, no, it's not.
yeah. They pushed it all the way out to July. I said, oh, I said this is getting real interesting.
Pig, get you there?
I am indeed.
Pastor Paycheck, hey,
That's my boy. That's money bags over there.
money bags.
It's too early for that, y'all. Behave. Good morning.
It's never too early. You know what? I'm not shocked. I'm really not shocked. I'm just like, wow. Y'all did all of this, and this is what it is. Oh, okay.
Would we say this is the church, or would we say that this is an individual?
Well, is Gant representing the church?
Well, this is me. I would say, and I don't want to sound like I'm beating up on the church, but I can't help it. That's what people think. It is what it is. But if the church, as a collectively, that body has already agreed to the terms, and then the people that's supposed to follow suit with it didn't do their part, I would have to say it's the church.
Are you gonna go live and talk about this? Because I done mentioned this girl name. I didn't even know you were still recording. I don't want nobody to know who I talked to.
I didn't even hear what you said, but no, repeat it.
Yeah, I'm not. But
you're talking about yeah, you're all right. Yeah.
No, I don't want. I don't want no issues with her. That's the reason why we know, and that's why the information is out when she ain't got nothing to do with none of that.
Well, no, because I had already said this live publicly, but Sappho was supposed to have he was actually supposed to be. Matter of fact, I think Sappho was there.
He was.
Yeah, I saw Sappho there. He was there, but obviously none of this stuff was entered into the court. So we're still pussyfooting around, and now these people have to keep dealing with this tyrant of a man. This is crazy. It's really crazy. Now, all they had to do, and the judge even said the last time, was submit the paperwork. Submit whatever you have. If it's coming from ecclesiastical, whatever, submit that paperwork, and it is what it is. That's what he said.
But I would say again, do that reflects the church, or could we say that that's just what the proceedings look like?
I'm sorry. What do you mean? What the proceedings look like?
A proceedings that is, if someone decides, because the church didn't take this to court. This is not the church case. This is Willie C. Green's case. He took it to court on behalf of the church. Well, the church has already denounced that, and so therefore, he has continued and made it clear that he will continue regardless of what the church has said. So do that reflect, because the church have to now continue to do what they need to do, take the proper steps, go in and find out what's going on, what all have Green done so far court-wise, because perhaps the church is dealing with a matter that perhaps they felt was an ecclesiastical matter, when now it's not an ecclesiastical matter. This is a court proceedings. This is a real court case. And so those on behalf of the church come in today to look on, to see, to hear what has taken. We have attorneys that want to be paid, that's wanting to continue to go on further than they need to, and it's all over the place. So why
let me tell you how to remedy this. COGIC, I get it. He did it on behalf of the church, but it's still COGIC. Like, they're on the pleading, so we can't take away that they are a part of this lawsuit. Yes, it is an ecclesiastical issue. People bring ecclesiastical issues into the court until the court rules that it's an ecclesiastical issue, which they haven't necessarily done. But what they need to do, what COGIC should do, is basically say that they don't have the ability, do an affidavit that they don't have the ability to, Willie C. Green did not have the ability, was not authorized to bring this lawsuit, then he didn't have standing. And when you don't have standing, then the case should be dismissed anyway. That's why I don't understand why, if they have that information, why isn't there just being a motion to try to dismiss this case?
Well,
And then it's going to force them to do what the only thing left, because there's no more court proceedings, because Willie Green doesn't have the authority to. Then because there's no more court proceedings, then you can do whatever the COGIC church advised them to do, because you don't have
eternity. Yes, come on, lay it out.
No, seriously, like, why aren't they? I said that off rip when they came the last hearing. I said they need to get an affidavit that says what they said, and they said that at the hearing, that bishops do not have that authority to just go on their own volition. But all they need to do is put it in the affidavit form, and then they do a motion to dismiss that he did not have standing to bring this on behalf of COGIC in the first place.
Okay,
now, and then you don't have a case because Willie Green was dismissed last time, and as an individual.
My question to the attorney would go very simple. Do other attorneys go and choose to go different routes, whether they need to or not?
What do you mean?
You would have took that route. Could the other attorney be trying to go another route?
What route would that be?
To get paid whatever he's doing. I mean, whatever it is. I mean, I see it every day. I mean, we all see every lawyer don't go the same route to deal with the case. They don't. Every lawyer. Best for them, whether it's best for their client, whatever route they're going, is it other routes that could be possibly happening?
They're dragging this out. That's
no problem.
The route is that they look like they're proceeding with the case, and then they're hoping that they'll resolve it, like they said. Okay. I mean, so they're going through litigation as opposed to dismissing it, which was what I think we all assumed was going to happen based on the call meeting.
Is that a church problem or an attorney problem?
Well, you're the one. I can only do what my client allows me to. Any decision I make, I should go to that person and say, hey, we got this going on. It's up to you. They want to settle. Do you want to settle? It's up to them. I can say in a criminal case, I don't think you should plead. But at the end of the day, I'm not the one going to jail if we lose that trial. So it's up to you. It's up to the client.
I hire an attorney because I have no idea what's going on. I only listen to the advice of my attorney. If my attorney tells me what to do, I follow his lead because I don't know. Is that possible? That's all.
But Gann is not his. From what you're telling me, Gann is not COGIC's attorney. Gann came in because Willie Green told them, right? Willie Green said, hey, Bishop Willie Green said that he wanted to come in and sue on behalf of COGIC based on this whole building issue. He hired his own attorney on behalf of COGIC. COGIC has its own attorney. So how do you say COGIC's name is still being out there is what I'm saying, and they're still considered on the pleading, but it's not necessarily being ran of the intent of COGIC because they're not the ones that brought this lawsuit. So COGIC has to make the move to say, listen, you guys can no longer operate on my behalf. I need you to dismiss this case. If COGIC says you got to pull out of this case and the case got to be closed, it got to be closed because you don't have authority to operate on my behalf.
And so today was the first proceedings that COGIC, after call meeting, the first case that COGIC was presentation was there, listening, watching. Let's see what the next moves be.
Agree. I agree.
I mean, that's just fair.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely want to see. I'm not saying that they may have thought it was going to be different. You know what I'm saying? And now they're like, okay, maybe we need to pull out of this and stop this.
And now we know where we at. We know what they're doing. We know what's going on. We know what they're asking for. We only heard what Watt said. We only heard what Green said. We came to the court today for ourselves. We've heard, we've listened. Now we know how to go back and retreat and what we need to be filing on behalf of our church and how we're going to represent ourselves. But we can't just jump into something we don't even know what the premise is and what the groundbreak, what the rules is going on, where we actually are, what's happening, how far we've gone.
Yep, that's fair. We give them time or whatever. I'm definitely not dragging them. I'm just saying they have the ability now, because you got, that's like somebody going in using my bar number and just going in doing, no, I'm gonna tell you can't use, that's not me. That's not a representative of me. So what you gonna do is not use my stuff, and I'm pulling out of this. COGIC's name is on there, so they have the ability at any time to tell them you no longer can represent COGIC, Mr. Gant, and you need to dismiss this case. We're gonna handle this in-house. That's all they have to do. They hold the keys because they're really on the, they're the ones that's on the pleading, regardless to whether it was validly put on the pleading or not.
Perhaps that's all they're going to do when they get the time to do so.
Well, I mean, I look at it like this. From what we all heard the judge say the last time, he's basically saying, from what I know I heard, I'm not on nobody's side. I'm just going by what I'm listening to. From what the judge said the last time, he said, if you all handle this outside of the court, whatever y'all do, paraphrasing, just let the court know what's going on so it can be done. If you all outside the court clear this up and everything is done, just let us know. You know, we don't want to waste time. If y'all handle this outside, that's what y'all do. Just let us know so we can basically get it off the records. From what happened at April call, this was supposed to be done. Now, according to what Bishop Green has said, he said he's going to continue on with the case. He said it's personal. So now you're directly going against what the church and even the presiding bishop the presiding bishop and the chairman of the General Assembly has requested of you to do. And then since Sappho showed up, Sappho was supposed to enter into that information into the court. So what I'm thinking is that Sappho could have already submitted that information and they could have been done with this already, because a copy of it could have been sent to Gant, Johnson, and the court. And they could have had that and that could have been done. But since that was not done, now we're pushing this all the way out to July.
Well, hopefully they'll resolve it before then. I mean, that's all we could really do is
You know, I'm just looking at it like this. I'm not even going to say that this is the court's problem. Me, to answer Pickett's question, and that is, he said, do you think this is a church or a court or whatever? I think it boils back down to the church. And to add to that, I think it's the church and the man. Because the church has given the rules, and then you have Bishop Green who goes and does what he wants to do. So what does that say about your agent of the church?
Well, it says that now that we know, it says that the church have understood. The church has made his ruling. The church has said what they're going to do. The General Assembly has spoken. When they go back now, today was a court proceedings where the church, the General Assembly chairman will also be able to see that what was asked of them, what was asked was not followed. Now they go and they make their decision of what they're going to do from here. We cannot say because they didn't come in with blazing guns. Hey, judge, stop! Don't talk no more, judge.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
It's a process. They're doing the proceedings. They came on. They listened. They heard the case. They seen what is actually going on. They know what to request for. They know what to look for. Now they'll go back and they'll go do what they need to do on behalf of the church and on behalf of Watts, his attorney, and etc. But again, I'm standing on that there's many times if Watts is advised by his attorney to do certain things and to not to do certain things, that's what he's going to do. And that don't make it a church problem when everybody has separate attorneys that is saying they want to do or handle things in a different manner. Everybody have to collectively say, okay, we've heard the church. This is what we're going to do. And unfortunately, that's not happening from Green. Unfortunately, it's not happening from Johnson. Unfortunately, so it's just not happening. It does not make it a Church of God in Christ issue. It is a issue that was already here before the Church of God in Christ was ever aware that that was an issue.
Well, I'm gonna respectfully disagree. It is a COGIC issue, and it's a COGIC issue because their name is on the pleading, and they have the right to steer this ship. And they're the ones that brought the lawsuit, which means if they decide to dismiss it with prejudice, it's a wrap.
They
Like
do
that's
have
over.
the
They
people
hold the
just
keys.
that I think that's very y'all got that I think that is very that's I mean I dare not disagree with the principle of an attorney that does this, so I'm a digress. If that's what she believed, coaches should have came in and said, hey, we're dismissing. That's
I
what they
didn't
should have
say
done.
what
Shame on
they
them.
should
Okay.
have done. I think they gave them the opportunity to try to work it out amongst themselves first. But I'm saying you're basically saying it's not a COGIC problem, but you can't say that if
No, it's
they're
not a
on the
coaching problem
pleadings.
at the moment. They're on this plea without them even knowing. So that's why they're involved, because it was a COGIC issue that this court case came, that he so-called was representing COGIC and doing what was, as he said in the General Assembly, I thought I was doing what was right for the church and the General Assembly, which he was knocked down. You wasn't. Sorry. Wrong. That's not what we do. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Now that COGIC has came, because now they're involved and they know it. They sat into a court proceeding today to listen at what took place. Do Church of God in Christ now have a right to report back to who they need to report to and say our next steps should be XYZ? Because if the attorney is representing COGIC, they need, so you just told me, they need their marching orders from their client. Go back to your client and tell your clients what took place today. Your clients give you the marching order. What do we need to do to get this finished? And let them do what they need to do. But we have heard one proceeding after the General Assembly, and all of a sudden the church is reneged on what they said. They're no good. Come on, good
Who
God
said the church
Almighty.
reneged on what they said?
Let's let the church have a conversation with their attorneys.
Pastor Pickett, who said the church reneged on what they said? We're saying that this attorney did not, and that was my advice, unsolicited. When I talked to someone, I was like, well, why don't you get your terms in writing? So then, even if you're not prepared, then you can at least put what you agree on the record. So you have some record of it, which is a legal document when you have a proceeding. That's all that I said. It seems like the terms, there shouldn't be much to iron out. It doesn't appear based on the information I received from when you guys had the meeting, from the videos I saw.
Yeah, it's much
So,
more to it than that. That's why
okay.
we're talking. We don't, because perhaps the terms is not agreed upon, because what happens when we're not finished with the terms? What happens with, I hear you, Koji, but I want more. We don't, it's yet, we're still at the table. And so therefore we have some time. We have a little time here to buy to see what's happening. We do know at the moment that Bishop Willie C. Green, as the biggest key that we know now, is the church will remain West Side in COGIC. Watts will remain COGIC. His church is no longer under the leadership of Bishop Green. Those are the first three things we know now. Now, the logistics to that and what we do to go forward because of this case being brought up and all of this period, now what we do is we go further with our negotiating. What we want to do. Short-term problem. Let's get us out of here.
Wait, Pickett. Now, it was said, I need to find out if this is true. It was said that Pastor Watts has to stay up under him until some sort of agreement or something is taking place.
If that was said, that's not accurate.
Okay.
Because Pastor Watts is under a new jurisdiction. Okay. And if he is back under Green, that means he's back, but I know he's gone.
Okay.
So that's the short-term fix is to get us from under him now. We're not serving him. We're not worshiping
Moses,
under him.
as of right now, the court case is it's over today. But they're coming back. They pushed everything off until July.
It's just one of those matters that has to continue to be taken care of, and the process has to go forward. He's worshiping and he's fine, and they're negotiating and doing what they do.
Tells Peggy that COGIC is dysfunctional. That should be dropped today.
I mean, you can say this. You can say this yourself.
I hear Tyson, and I know what Tyson gonna say.
Wait,
what Tyson? I hear him, and I know just what he gonna say.
Wait, say that again. Hold on, let me turn you up, Moses. Let me turn you up. What said Moses?
This is Moses Tyson Jr. The management of COGIC at most levels is dysfunctional. Pastor Pickett, I am 60 years old. I work with 3 presiding bishops. I produce music for the Church of God in Christ. I went to court in Orlando when they put that dead body in there, and they tried to make the bishop a bishop that put that body in there. It's dysfunctional. That case should have been dropped, period. And we're going to have to deal with it. It shouldn't have to continue to nothing. This has went on too long. Church is dysfunctional. They hugged up there in April. That paperwork should have been done. Whatever should have needed to have happened should have happened today. It shouldn't have to continue another day.
Well,
they play games. They're not honest. They play games, and we got general board members that need to be impeached. And I will call their name shortly. They're not honest people. We're still dealing in Houston right now, Pastor Pickett. They've been lying, playing games. They won't even give the letter to Bishop Cowles after they put in the order that he was supposed to have gotten that letter January 2020.
Well, I want you.
Executive committee, they're playing games with us right now. I'm dealing with that case. I got arrested in that case. I took Bishop Cowles to them 5 years ago, and all they did was lied after we cooperated with them. And this is Moses Tyson Jr., and that's what I am saying. And
I would so like you to call me concerning that when you get time, Moses Tyson Jr.
Because Moses Tyson Jr., you got Pastor Paycheck on the line, and he is in defense of the church. And you can't be saying that about the church.
I'm in defense of right. And at the end of the day,
listen, I supported Bishop Drew Shear publicly. I told Bishop Blake that he's not supposed to run again when people are scared to open their mouth, including his campaign manager, Bishop Marcus Wades. They wouldn't even tell Bishop Blake he had aged out. Now, this is a fact, Pastor Pickett. We put this stuff in writing. And I love Bishop Blake, okay? Now, I am disappointed because I thought the Bishop Sheardon would come in and just follow the laws. They are not doing that. And you can't have friendship, salvation, and principles. We got to be honest with each other.
Well, in that case, and since you so mentioned that, I want to stand to that. So I wait on you to call me concerning Bishop Cowles.
So Piggy.
They playing with him right now. They playing with him right now.
Yep, give me a call. Right is right. Wrong is wrong.
Wait, not only am I give you a call, King Jives, make sure you send Pastor Pickett that file I sent you that I sent to my bishop, who's the new chairman of the Board of Bishops.
I don't think Pickett cares about that file. He just wants to sit up out here and defend the church. That's all.
That's not
true.
That is not true. I'm not defending anything but right. This church, at the end of the day, they deserve, this church deserves just like everyone else. I don't have to defend a church that has been standing over 100 years on its own. I don't have to defend the church that is going on. I don't have to defend this church.
Hold on.
Wait. The church will continue to stay out.
Hold on one second. Pickett, I've been born in this church.
Me too.
And to be honest with you, and this ain't no slight towards nobody, you or anybody. I never knew anything was wrong going on in this church till I was 19 years old. And I still was in denial of anything that was going on because I was brought up to believe that people truly were saved and they did what was right.
Shame on
Now,
you.
as I've gotten older,
I knew better.
as I've gotten older, I've seen otherwise, which is really disheartening. So I can't say that, yes, just because this church is 120 something years old, that this church is perfect, right, and everything that they do is okay. Or
No one can say that.
no, yeah, I can't say that, but at the same time, yeah, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. But right is right and wrong is wrong, and what
Correct.
we see is blatantly right before our eyes.
Wait. Give who the benefit of the doubt?
We ain't seen nothing.
Wait, let me tell y'all
It
something.
was a court case
The church,
today.
the church is going to be fine. The church is fine. It's the management of the organization, and there's a difference. The church, this is not the church. This is about 30 men that we need to impeach or replace. So it's not the church. See, my mother church got raped. So I know what this national church do. They go to court and they lie and they cheat. I'm telling you what I've experienced. My mother church got raped. I can give you a list of churches that have got mistreated. And when they went to the national, they treated them worse.
Every
I call
organization.
names. I'm telling you. So it's not the church. It's some of the management and officials in the organization. And there is a distinction. That's what we need to make the distinction in.
Josh, let me ask you this question, and Pastor Pickett, I'm gonna ask you the same question. If somebody brings a lawsuit on your behalf that you don't agree with, are you just gonna sit back and watch it and see how it's gonna play out? Or are you gonna say this ain't what I agree with and you're gonna remove yourself from that situation?
If someone brings a lawsuit on my behalf, one, if I am unbeknownst to it, one, I don't agree with it. Two, I'm pulling myself out of it because I did not initiate this lawsuit.
That's correct.
So that
It's
was
games.
the first problem right there.
Well, that's what Josh would do. So since you mentioned, this is what I would do. I would speak to the person. I would speak to the person that bought the lawsuit in my name. Let them know that I do not agree with it and allow them and order them to go and fix it. I would not be doing anything because I will expect that you know now that this is not something that I agree with. This is not something I condone. So I encourage you, before I have to get involved, go remove my name and take me off of that because that's not what I authorized. You don't do so. What I'll do is come in and I want to see, because when I come, I want to see how far we are. I believe that's just right. And see what you've put me in, because I hear there's a lawsuit. But what happens if we're in a lawsuit and this lawsuit has been going on a long time and I just didn't know? One thing that I will fault the church on, and only one thing, is that these matters should never be happening without the church knowledge, which means we should have known the very day that Green went and filed a lawsuit on behalf of Watch Church. The church should have been notified somehow. And so it need to be something in record that if this ever happened, you have to notify the church before or after you have done something like that immediately, not 8 months later, not 2 years later. That's the problem, because this case could have been going all the way to the end and the church wouldn't have known had it not been an outcry. So that's no,
Pastor Pickett. One point. No, the church knew. They don't care. Until King Jonathan got out there and put it out there on blast. And then they got a little response. They don't care. I'm telling you, they don't care.
That's an opinion. So we everybody has.
Well, I'm telling you, let me tell you about my opinion. The difference in my opinion and what you're saying is I've been to court with this church.
Well, you've been
I'm telling you, I can prove what I'm telling you. The management, let me put it like that, the management, they don't care. I've done depositions in this church. I went to a deposition from my mom's church. They got ripped off by their pastor, right? You know what they asked me in the deposition? They brought up Orlando, which is something that happened 20 years ago. They were trying to make me look bad. What they got to do with me my mother's church being ripped off financially.
And that's why I want to ask you what that got to do with Watts and what we're talking about at West Hills. I'm gonna say West.
Because I was giving an example to let you know I have dealt with the national church. I'm telling you what they do. I'm dealing with the church now. I took Bishop Cowles to them 5 years ago on the arrangements that they asked me to bring him to the table with. When he agreed and signed the paperwork, they shafted him. We're dealing with it 5 years later. So that's not my opinion. I call names.
We're just talking about this.
I'm 60 years old. I am a pastor. I'm 60. I have no reason to play with this. It doesn't take this long for them to know what's going on. What it is, they don't. It's dysfunctional, and we're dealing with dishonest people. Bishop David Hall testified the last time. It don't take them this long to tell them to withdraw this case. They done hugged in the April call meeting. We was under the impression that Bishop Green was going to withdraw it.
We wasn't. If you was under that impression, you was wrong because we wasn't. We knew better from the beginning. He had made that clear. So I don't know who told you that lie.
Wait. I was at the General Assembly via the computer. They hugged, and we was under the impression that this case was going to be dropped. They said we didn't need to be in court. I witnessed that. That's not no impression. That's what they said to me as a delegate.
And that's what. And after that very meeting, Green said he wasn't dropping nothing. So we all knew that.
I'm telling you what the national church. No, he didn't tell us that. In the General Assembly, we was under the impression that it was over. They hugged and they prayed, and the presiding bishop, Judah Boyd, said they did a prayer restoration. We was under the impression. I'm not saying what Bishop Green said afterwards. We was under the impression he was dropping it, but the national church can withdraw their end because they on the top line.
And my point.
And he refused. So obviously, that impression might not have been. So, Pastor Pickett, what you're saying is that what I'm gathering from you, and correct me if I'm misinterpreting, you're saying that the church is, for the most part, giving them a chance to right their wrong. And then now that they may have blown or may not have blown, whatever they want to interpret this hearing, I don't think it was much information to glean one way or another. It wasn't like they really discussed much. Then COGIC can come in and say, hey, or even call Gant, like, dude, you're basically representing us, and we don't want to be a part of this. So you need to withdraw COGIC.
I have no doubt in my mind.
And it doesn't take that long to do that. I'm telling you, Pam, I witnessed this. We was under the impression, at least I was, that this was going to be taken out of court. And that's what they brought them pastors up there in front of everybody and said, so what happened? And said that the bishops are supposed to come to the national church officials before they launch lawsuits in the future. They read a whole dialogue to us as delegates. Didn't they explain what happened in Florida? They said that we don't belong in court. We need to do this within the church. They had them hug. They prayed, and we was under the impression this was going to be over. Now, that's the impression that they gave to us. Now, what Bishop Green said afterwards, he didn't say that in the microphone. That's what I'm saying. That's the difference. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of delegates surprised that this case have not been withdrawn at the national level. They can easily say, we're out of this case.
They can, and if they can just go ahead and pick up the phone and say, Judge, we're out of this case.
Actually, they can.
No. They can file whatever paperwork. Pam, no. Wait. Like I said again, Pam, you know what has to happen to withdraw the case, but they can give the order to withdraw the case because their name is on the top line.
Today, they could have said COGIC has no intention on continuously pursuing this case, and an order will follow. They have the ability to. But it ain't
Pam,
be like, no, we're not going to stipulate to dismiss this case. Yeah, I'm going to stipulate for you to dismiss this case against me.
Thank you.
This is the problem this is my problem and I ain't talking about you direct, Pam, but I'm gonna talk about pastors. I'm gonna talk about all professions. It worries me when one profession believes that everybody have to follow that suit. Okay, good. That's what they could have done. But I also know an attorney could have went back and retreated and said nothing and filed the paperwork and without saying anything. So I can't say because this is how I will pastor, all pastors should pastor. That's not the way it happens. That's not the world we live in. If that's what you would have done, we would have been in a great place today. But since that's not what they have chose to do, we cannot say that they're not going to follow up with a process, with a motion to dismiss the Church of God in Christ from any lawsuits concerning Westside and Kenneth Watts. We can't say that. We haven't even allowed these people to step off of a court case and go back to their clients with direction.
Who has not? That's your no. You're trying to be contentious, and even your original statement. Yes, I am attorney. You are not. So that means that I've gone through this. I know what there are proper procedures. There are improper procedures.
So they did something
improper. Wait a minute. No. Just like what happened with COGIC internal, how they didn't follow all the procedures with Bishop Kyles and everybody. There are proper procedures. There are improper procedures. If I'm going to say you don't have standing to represent me on my behalf, why would I continue to allow you to represent me on my behalf? That don't even take legal.
So they're improper.
That's just common sense. That's
so
all
they was
I'm
improper.
I am not saying that COGIC is not going to right the wrong. I'm not. I am not saying that whatever. I only heard half of the hearing and they didn't say much to me, but moved dates and the judge made a mistake or something on whatever was supposed to happen today. I didn't really hear anything. What I'm saying is if the consensus is that they were supposed to withdraw this case, then it does not take. All I'm saying is it does not take much. They have forms for that you can Google under Florida and say order for dismissal, and you can stipulate to dismiss your case. I can always dismiss a case.
So they was improper.
We dismissed it. We dismissed the lawsuit. So Pastor Pickett, I'm talking experience. We dismissed one. I dismissed my mama's case. I told the lawyer to withdraw without prejudice so we could file again.
We got it. Hey, they was improper. I'm not an attorney. The attorney basically said that they went in, they was improper today. They should have removed themselves and they should have sent the letter of follow-up.
You don't have standing. That is against everybody's court rules. You have to have standing to bring a lawsuit. So if they're alleging that they did not have the authority to operate on behalf of COGIC, that means they're illegally filing a lawsuit without standing because they've been told that they can't represent COGIC. That's black and white.
And that's what they told us in April, Pam. They told us that a couple weeks ago that they don't want no bishops filing lawsuits on behalf of COGIC without coming to them first.
There are gray areas in law. Otherwise, you wouldn't need lawyers. I'm not saying that. Many statutes get interpreted different. Many case law does, but some things really are black and white. They're really within your rules. And you have to have standing. I can't go in and just represent somebody in Florida because I'm not licensed there. They're going to dismiss my case.
You're the attorney, Pam. I'm not. I just said clearly, you got me. I can't argue when you tell me that the Church of God in Christ attorneys went in and they was improper in court. I can't argue that. I don't know they was improper.
Well, here's the thing. Even the Church of God in Christ attorneys, like Gant did not represent the Church of God in Christ. He represents Green.
I know he do.
I'm
just letting.
But Green doesn't. Green was dismissed. So that can't be true. Green was literally dismissed as a person with the last hearing. He was dismissed as an individual. So Green is not in this lawsuit. That means the only person Gant could be represented right now is COGIC.
On behalf of Willie Green, because COGIC didn't hire him.
Yeah, I agree. Willie Green said he was an agent of COGIC. You see what I'm like? Willie Green is operating as the agent of COGIC, but not in his individual capacity.
But
him as an individual was dismissed
last time. Because we have dysfunctional leadership. We have dysfunctional leadership.
Hold on. If Gant is representing the Church of God in Christ, look how confusing this is. If Gant is representing the Church of God in Christ, Sappho, who is a judicial in the Church of God in Christ, is coming in with paperwork to say this is over. So then what really is Gant doing?
Hey, Coach, you gonna figure it. I mean, I'm not saying they're not gonna do anything or the right thing. So I don't want that to
they will figure it out.
Yeah, they're not gonna allow.
My point is no urgency. See here's what I'm getting to, Pastor Pickett. I've been in court case with COGIC with my mother's church. I'm telling you, they don't care. There's no urgency. If y'all was to do what y'all was doing right now, I feel sorry for Pastor Green. They will run up illegal bills into the thousands of dollars because they got the money, they waste money. So I'm not dogging COGIC at all. I'm telling you that our management need to step up and quit playing games with people because my mother church went through it. So I'm not giving no opinion.
Okay, y'all.
We got in the way we do these small churches who have to scrape up money with lawyers, go through all this foolishness because there's no urgency. So I'm not down in the church. It will get corrected.
It will, and they're going
But
to
I know what it feel like. It will get corrected. But I know what it feel like to be on the other end when something just keeps going and there's no urgency to try to get rectification.
Watts is comfortable. Watts is safe, and Watts understands the process. He's comfortable. His church is removed from northwestern Florida. He's comfortable.
Oh no, Watts is safe. No, I believe that. I was speaking to the misunderstanding that a lot of us had that this was over.
The problem that's going on with North Florida right now is the fact that now, because of all of this stuff has come at Green, now he's becoming a tyrant. Now he's threatening all the pastors and all this other stuff.
Correct.
Like that. And he continues to bother Watt with this injunction after they have already told him.
And the national church doesn't, and I'm going to say this again, being clear, the culture of our leadership do not care.
Well, again,
I'm saying that. Pastor Pickett not saying that. I'm saying that the management of our church, they don't care. And I can prove that with documentation. And we need to start caring. We need to stop lying. Clergy shouldn't be liars. I don't care who they are.
They can't.
That's a fact. And I can say that. I'm 60 years old. I didn't have open heart surgery. I don't have no reason to play. I don't play in church. I could be much further at the scale if I want to be, but I refuse to play with my soul. I love these people, but I'm being clear. The church is great. The pastors are great. Most of the bishops are great, but we have a batch that's someone that's in our elected officials. They need to do their jobs and do it with more compassion. That's all I'm trying to say. I have no doubt that this will be rectified. But we was under the impression, Pastor Pickett, at least that's what we were told, that we didn't belong in court. And we was under the impression this case will be withdrawn. And it doesn't take that long because I withdrew a lawsuit in my mom's case. I was the secretary of the trustee board. They gave us the authority. We withdrew it.
We thought
the lawyer withdrew the papers. He done it within a couple of days. And this is California.
And he still made the decision not to do so.
No, I'm saying if whoever is in charge of the lawsuit, in this case, the national church is on the top line, they can withdraw it. And I'm sure at some point they will. But we thought it would just be withdrawn. This would be coming to the end. But Bishop Green is still carrying on. And the reason why I said I'm not surprised, that's the culture. They don't care about people abusing people. I got a lady out here right now. Her mother church got sold, Pastor Pickett. Her bishop ignored her calls. Now the church is sold. They got a note. They don't even know the business.
Well, I'll say it like this: just to take it outside of this case, so that Elvis could really. I believe that Elvis does understand. But you have cases in this church of people being abused sexually and everything, and yet they're still not addressing those issues.
They didn't even bring that up.
Well, when they address them, it looked like we want to say, give them a chance, give them another chance. No, put them back. They should have their church back. No, don't do that to them. We know this church I'm ashamed of themselves.
Wow.
Who is that talking?
What do we want? We want them to address them.
Pastor Pickett, let me be clear. They got a lady that got a judgment in this church for $750,000 because the bishop was having sex with her, according to the article, at the age of 16.
That should be fine.
Okay, let me be clear. They just promoted him. To my understanding, they just promoted him as the regional bishop. So the hypocrisy and the game should stop. So I'm not being funny about this.
No,
I don't have no dog in this fight.
Do we want bishops that have sex with underage people, children, to be reinstated as bishops? Do we want that? Are we asking for that? Do we fight for that?
Whoever have underage sex with women need to go to jail. Okay, who it is?
Well, Well, whether it's 16, 17, 18, anybody that's married and having sex with churches should go to jail.
You shouldn't be having sex with nobody. Let me be clear.
Okay, and so we ain't fighting for those people, are we?
Okay,
Let me
so
be clear what I'm saying.
Okay,
If somebody is convicted of
Sound-
having sex with
not
underage,
convicted. I know. Change it up, Moses. Make it nice. I know that's right.
okay, so basically Elvis is saying that with Bishop Kyles, we shouldn't be fighting as hard as we are because
that's not his case. Elvis is misrepresenting his case.
Well, no,
Bishop was
he's
not
not. No,
convicted.
Elvis is not
Bishop was not
representing his
convicted.
case. No, what he's saying is because Bishop Kyles had that situation, he shouldn't be in his church at all either.
Bishop Council.
How you doing, man? Great. I'm trying to be like you. That's all.
If you go look at Bishop Cowles was not convicted of having sex with no underage girls. I wouldn't stand with him if that was his case.
Because he wasn't convicted. We're not
No,
going to talk about.
I said because he wasn't convicted, meaning he was not even charged with having sex with underage girls, and that's a lie that was put out there. So that's why I just said it like that. I wouldn't stand with nobody that was having sex with underage girls. So it ain't just because he was convicted. I'm not litigating his case. I said they defrauded us, lied to the General Assembly, and have stolen his money. That is a fact. Kirk Thompson admitted that in writing. He sent a letter to Bishop Sheard last year that was hidden from us. That's what I said.
I'm not going to talk about Bishop
I
Kyles.
don't support no men that have sex with underage girls.
Okay.
And we're not going to be having sex with nobody but our wives. So I'm not saying that at all, Pastor Pickett.
I'm going to say I'm not
But
going to
the national church officials not to engage in fraud, grand theft, and everything else. I got arrested with them dishonest people.
I'm not talking.
So I'm not talking about. I would never uphold that.
I want to ask a question. If you and I just want to ask a question because I don't know. And since we often talk about Bishop Kyles and why, I want to, I said I was going to get some details, some facts, and really because I just want to know. I'm just curious. I heard what you said, convict, etc. Is how can I just ask, just roughly, because we're talking about how do we get here?
There was an accusation made on Bishop Kyles.
What was the accusation?
And I will be more than happy. Number one, I'm not going to litigate his case right now because I'm just getting up. I'll be more than happy to give you the file on Bishop Kyles.
I don't want to file. I just asked about the accusation. That's all. I just asked, was it an accusation? How we got here? That's all.
Yeah, right. I will bring you how I got involved in this case.
No. Okay.
And I brought Bishop Kyles to the table as I was asked to do. I didn't have no dog in this fight. I brought him to the table as I was asked to do. When Bishop Kyles did what I asked him to do, on what they asked me to ask him to do, they lied, cheated, and 5 years later, we're still dealing with it.
You can talk about all that, Dr. Tyson. I just asked the question how we got here, but you want to run from that. However, we'll move on.
I'm not running at all. I said accusations made on him. So now you're misrepresenting me, Pastor Pickett. I said that there was an accusation brought on him. I said I will give you what I was given. I told you that I would be more than happy to do that because I put everything in writing. I said I wasn't prepared to go through all that right now because I don't litigate his case like that.
I don't want to know. I didn't ask for any litigation. I just asked about the accusation. That's it. We ain't got the. That's all. Because the church lied, they cheated, they did all of this, and that's in writing too.
No, not the church. Some of the managers did because I'm the one who took him the proposition. I took him a proposal that they told me to take to him. You understand that, King Jives?
How we got here?
I took him a proposal, Pastor Pickett, and when he cooperated, I said they lied, cheated, even to the General Assembly. I'm saying that. But now I'm speaking on my experience. Bishop Kyles owed me no money. He's no kin to me.
Me neither. And the church owes me nothing. And the management of the church owes me nothing.
Wait. Unfortunately for the church, the officials, Kirk Thompson put in writing what he's supposed to do. Pastor Pickett, they hid that letter. We just finally got a copy of it.
We talked
somebody in
about
the office
everything
said it to us.
everybody else did, but you have yet to say nothing about. See that's I can't. That's a biased behavior. You're saying everything
I'm speaking
directly
on
of
a
what
case that I got
everybody did.
arrested in.
How did we
No,
get
I'm
here?
speaking to you about the managers that I have dealt with. I can't go on everything. I can only speak to that which I've done.
Okay, so how
You
did we
understand
get
that,
here?
King James?
No, I still won't.
I'm not talking about everybody else. I'm talking about what I've dealt with. So I understand the culture of our church. Have
How
you ever
did we?
been in a lawsuit with the national church?
Yes, sir. 2 of them.
No, I'm talking about, have you ever been a defendant in one, or have you ever testified in the court in the national church?
Two of
Testified.
them.
Okay,
2 of
I'm
them.
just giving you my experience. I can't talk about anything. I can only talk about that which I experienced. My mother's case, Bishop Cowles, and another
How
case
did we?
that I won't call the name.
How did we get
So
here?
I can only speak to that which I've experienced.
How do we get here?
Well, I can only speak to my experience. And I'm telling you that leadership is dysfunctional. And when you're a small church and you got to pay lawyer fees,
Our
like my mother
leadership is
church had to do,
dysfunctional.
you don't have time to keep going back and forth. And
you're right about that. And you're right about that. So I support it, and I'm so behind you with that statement. When people are right, Pastor Watts in this situation should not have been in this place. All I ask, and we're going to keep running behind it and running around it because we're scared of the reality and the truth. How did we get here when it comes down to the Church of God in Christ fighting, stealing, manipulating, and taking from Bishop Cowles? How did we get here?
Well, like I said to you again, I'd be more than happy to send you over the file. And I just told you how we got here. It would have been over.
You just said accusation. You just keep nicely.
You don't want to accept that answer.
You using the nice word accusation. What can I ask? What was the accusation?
I'm not going to go into that today.
I thought you. I know you're not.
Wait. I'm going to tell you
so
again.
Therefore, we need not say nothing about Bishop Cowles no more. We can move on. I nicely refer to the accusation for you. I can say the accusation since you won't say it. I say it. We can't go out there and making people. That's manipulative. That's manipulation to these people that's listening, these viewers.
I'm not arguing with you, sir. I only brought up the management of how we do because it's the same people. Okay. I was talking about the culture. I'm not talking about Cowles no more. He's going to be taken care of.
You keep howling Bishop Cowles. They did it to Bishop Cowles.
I'm talking about Bishop Cowles because I have his case on my desk right now. We just got paperwork with more deception in it. Don't beat me because they're not honest. I can send you the paperwork to prove it. Don't you know they can sue me if I make statements like this? So it ain't about Cowles. Cowles may not live through the day. It's about the principles of what we do.
And I'm just talking about the principles. Since we're talking about principles, we hold one person to
okay,
a
so I'm telling you the principles. I'm telling you that the individuals that I have dealt with, the individuals that I have dealt with and are yet dealing with. So I won't call his name. I was only speaking to how they do business.
You didn't call everybody else's name, and you done said everything. See, that's the difference with me.
I said take Bishop Cowles out of it. I'm dealing with
now
these
we're gonna
people.
take him out
so
of
that's
it.
why I said it's dysfunctional.
We'll move him out.
Right. So I'm telling you, I'm dealing with the leadership of my church right now. It's dysfunctional and dishonest. Now, if I made a statement like that, they could sue me for slander if I couldn't prove it. I'm not even trying to down them. I'm only saying that we need to change this culture because it's hard on the people. That's my point.
I like in every organization and everything.
See, I've seen my mother cry. I've seen my mother church get ripped off. And when we went to the national, they didn't care. The system, it collapsed. That's what I'm speaking to.
This church is the greatest church, but it's not the perfect church. So therefore,
The church is great. This is not the church. I said the management needs to be revamped. The church haven't done nothing. It's the management that's Pastor Pickett. Do you realize that there's nobody at headquarters today? So if you're in trouble, who do you call? If you're not connected, you can't even get nobody on the phone. That's what I'm speaking to. That's management. That's what I'm saying. If you got in trouble today, who do you call? Well, you can get somebody on the phone because you know people. But if you're in trouble today, I get calls because they can't get nobody on the phone. Because they can't get nobody on the phone. I love this church. I'm not down in the church. The church is great. The church is great. But unfortunately, there's some people in management that we need to revamp. That's a fact. I've had personal dealings with this church on legal matters. It's disappointing the way they do. And let me be clear. We have sex cases, like that young man up there in New York. We need to come to the table and deal with this stuff aggressively and be done with it. I've been advocating for years now that we get a sex committee that when people bring allegations, they are dealt with in an aggressive way. I don't have no double standard. I'm not going to let nobody try to put that out there like I do. I don't have no double standard, Pastor Pickett. And I don't support sexual abusers.
Pickett, your phone going in and out. Pickett, you there? I think you're in them trees. You gotta come out the bushes.
Hey, let me tell you something, King Jives. I speak to the culture of what we're doing. No, the church haven't done nothing. The church is great, but the management and the culture needs to change. And again, so let me go on record with this. I don't support no bishop or no pastor, nobody else having sex, especially with underage girls. You're supposed to be having sex with your wife.
Right, I get that part. I understand where Pickett is coming from, but like I said to him, Pastor Kyle's situation is very complex. There's different situations going on in that case.
Well, they stole the money and they lied. And what happened is, King Jives, I didn't get involved 3 years in. So that train had already left the station. Once we got involved, it changed it because we took him a proposal, and the proposal is in writing, thank God. When he cooperated, they shafted him. That's all I speak to.
Well,
so you don't lie. That's what I mean, lie, cheat, and all that. We got the proof of that, King Jives. You have the file.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, come by here, my Lord, come by
really?
here.
So, I mean, today was what it was with the Watts Green case. And
did it get resolved?
It didn't get resolved. They just pushed the date back.
I said it will get resolved. It's just disappointing that we just this should have just been over with. But it'll get resolved. My point was our culture is not a culture of urgency because we don't really have full-time workers. Not like people think. Our leaders have so many different jobs. This is not their only job. That's the only point I'm bringing. Our management structure is different. So there's nobody in Memphis at headquarters to really feel problems. You understand that, King Jives?
People doing everything else. I mean, they can't do this. I mean, okay.
Every management comes in with different ideas and different things to do. And so we're going to constantly get management in our church. We have great leadership now, and our leadership will address some of these problems as time goes. Our leadership became in leadership in the midst of a pandemic. We haven't even been able to touch and scratch the surface of things. But I like to stay focused and the Bishop Green, the jurisdictional prelate of Northwestern Florida, is a tyrant to the pastors of Northwestern Florida. And therefore, Kenneth Watts has an issue. I like to deal with the directs, because when everybody emotions and feelings start playing in, it's moved off of what we should be really talking and diving into, the real facts of reality, that this tyrant needs to be called into question and removed. And that's why myself and many others have filed charges against this tyrant of a leader, because he needs to be removed. And that should be in this moment the reality.
And I'm saying he's able to be a tyrant. He didn't just become a tyrant. To my understanding, he's been a tyrant for years because our culture allows that. That's a fact. He's not the only tyrant. He just happened to get on the radar. That's what I'm saying.
Well, now,
and I agree with you. I'm getting ready to come to Florida, so my focus is that. But I only brought up the culture because it's the same people. That's what I'm saying. That's our culture. So Bishop Green is doing what he's been able to get away with for years. That ain't got nothing to do with who just became the management. And don't act like the general board is all new. I'm not talking about the presiding bishop. He's one vote. I said our culture. The presiding bishop is one vote, but the general board has re-elected members on there. So that's what I meant by the culture.
And
we're acting like, oh, we just got a new.
Going on.
They was on the board when he was cutting up years ago. That's what I'm saying to you, Pastor Pickett. I get what you're saying. I'm not talking about the presiding bishop. He can't waive a one. No. I'm speaking now as a delegate. Our culture needs to be addressed. And if we don't do that, there's going to be other Watts cases out there that may not get King John's attention, and they suffer. So, yes, I'm targeted on Bishop Green and Watts, but I'm talking about my mother and other cases to show you why I say what I say. The culture needs to change. There's no concern from my experience with them for people who are in trouble. That's what I'm saying. They don't even check on them. If they did, I wouldn't be getting the calls. I don't ask people to call me.
Okay, well, Pam, you there? Because Pickett got off.
I think we lost the signal.
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Oh, never mind, he back.
Yeah, Pam, I don't ask people to call me.
I got a question for you, Moses. That culture need to change. I agree with you. And this church has been around for about over I know exactly. We are pushing well over 100 years. And so guess what? We got 400 years into this black and white, and we're still trying to change the culture of that. And so cultures need to change, and I'm with you, but we continue to keep on speaking truth to power, bringing these kind of things that brings the culture to change, to knowledge. George Floyd helped the culture all these years later. The shootings take place, help the culture. We're still yet keep on fighting and keep on nipping away to get this culture changed. It don't change overnight, clearly, because 400 years later, we're still fighting with black culture, the culture of this America. And so all I'm saying is when we see the issues, we speak truth to power, we bring it to an open shame, and we keep fighting it. But at the end of the day,
that's all I'm doing today is just telling you that the culture needs to be addressed harder because it's a complacency because there's a lack of urgency. That's just my experience. I lived in Memphis 35 years. So I'm just bringing you my experience of what I've dealt with. I'm not putting down individuals. I'm saying the management culture and standards needs to change. And here's the difference. We're the church. We're the church. We're supposed to be the standard. And the difference is you just brought up something about George Floyd, but guess what? Them cops went to jail. And some of this stuff we're doing to people is criminal.
And we're gonna focus on Bishop Green being removed. So he need to go too. We want the same verdict. We want the same verdict for every bishop that is doing things to pastors, doing things to elders, doing things to the supervisors, doing things to people that is unlawful and ungodly. We want them to call them into open shame. But I tell you all of the things that the general board and different bishops of the Church of God in Christ may do to people. And I want to talk to the people, not that says, I don't know why the police is after my young boys because they wouldn't have robbed the bank. So I want to deal with people like Pastor Watts that has he's spotless. He has no blemish. I don't want to talk about somebody coming in and removing somebody or accusations and all of a sudden. I like black and white. I like to make the fight worth fighting. And so if we open doors and allow things to happen, or we cost ourselves doing what we know we should not do, that's not a culture that needs to be dealt with. That culture we don't like neither. I want that culture to change too, that we keep on turning a deaf ear to things when we have hurting children. I want that culture to change. I want us to address it all.
Right.
Even
Let me
our
ask you a
friends
question.
need to be addressed.
Did you go to the General Assembly this time?
I sure did not. I did what you did. Watch virtually every piece of it.
That's what I meant. I'm talking about, did you watch the General Assembly?
Every piece of it. Yes, sir.
Did you see a report given on sexual abuse? Did you see a report
sir.
given on lawsuits that's currently standing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so how many sexual abuse cases do we have right now in court?
You know they didn't give that a report.
That's the point I'm making. This is what I tell you. They used to have to give a report. Wait, will you let me finish? Pam, we are the ruling body of our church. We decide yes or no to what the general board and presiding bishop do when we recess and come back. If the General Assembly don't know about the cases, they can't address it.
So
that's a systematic problem that we need to fix, because that's what I'm trying to say to you. So if I'm a delegate and I don't know about the cases, I can't weigh in. So I may want to decide, hey y'all, we need to just go ahead and settle these cases. Let's deal with this stuff aggressively and move on. If it's not addressed, I have a problem with that.
Now on the criminal sexual cases, I would say as far as protecting COGIC and making sure they're not predators or people out there remaining in the church, that would be their issue, as far as that aspect. But from a legal perspective, they probably 9 times out of 10, just like most of the Catholic priests, if you look at the case law, the actual denomination ends up not being liable for that, because it's not like they can control what that individual does. Now they do have the duty.
You mean on the criminal side?
Well, criminal, civil. On the criminal side, that's personal, and on the civil side, it's very rare.
We don't even address the civil sides. But see, what I've been fighting for, Pam, is I'm saying, Pastor Pickett, we should have something set up in our church seriously and aggressively where that addresses them issues. That's what I'm saying. No more, no less.
Well, COGIC has a whole sexual assault page, because that was a big thing 5 years ago when people came to me about that.
And my bishop constantly talked about it in the Holy Convocation. He preached against it. The Church of God in Christ will not allow. We will not condone. We will remove you immediately. That's when our amendments has changed, that the jurisdictional prelate has a right to remove you immediately from your sanctuary if there is an accusation, not a conviction.
Mm-hmm.
Accusation, Moses Tyson Jr.
Well, let me be clear with you.
And that
I'm just reading the Constitution. Now, don't change it now. Not right now. We got to wait to call me for that.
No, I agree. And I definitely agree from that aspect internally.
I agree. Let me be clear with you. I don't condone no sexual abuse in no form. I'm one of the ones that is fighting that we get a serious committee. I'm just saying we have worked our bishop. I wrote to the National Mother. I put my stuff in writing, so I don't just talk on King James. I wrote to the National Mother as a pastor and asked her, will she get something together? Because I don't want women calling me, talking to me about the abuse that's going on in their situations. So you may have some people, Pastor Pickett, that do the right thing, but we got a lot of cases that don't do the right thing, even when there's accusations. And sometimes there is proof. We got a lady on social media right now that has an accusation that a man was messing with her since she was 12. Ain't nobody investigated that.
So, well, all I'm saying is we keep on nipping, we keep on pulling, we keep on marching toward excellence.
I bet Miss Pollard do this to
As
the
y'all can
sexual
see,
abuse.
picking is over. Picking is over. So listen, y'all.
Well, let me leave this with you. Pam, you tell me, y'all tell me if I'm right. My point is the church should be the standard. I'm a pastor. I shouldn't be a liar. I don't care who it is. So I should not be held to the same standard just to say, well, it's been 300 or 400 years. I get that. But we're supposed to make the difference. Of course, we're not going to be perfect.
And when we don't, we need to be removed, and we should not be a bishop, pastor, nothing else, since we're supposed to set the standards.
I believe that everyone is responsible, especially in leadership. You are responsible because you have souls and things that you're supposed to be shepherding. When you do wrong, you need to be handled accordingly.
That is correct.
Point blank. Nobody gets a pass.
Period.
Everybody.
That's how I feel about it. I don't see on my platform because I know a lot of y'all, Piggott, Moses, I know a lot of y'all are told not to come over here. But what I do on my platform,
because you the devil.
People, that's what I do over here. Okay? I may not like.
Can I ask you a question?
Well, hold on. I may not like all the stipulations and things that go on. The reason I took up for Watts is because I didn't like what was going on. Everything in that situation and that case was not all black and white things. Because again, Watts didn't do something right, but yet and still, we stood for him because what Green was doing was absolutely wrong, and it was grotesque, and it was
totally different. Totally different. Totally different.
I mean, it was totally different.
Totally different.
But
Shame.
again, the stipulations in
totally
that
different.
particular situation wasn't all the way black and white
either. No, totally different. Totally different. Totally different. That was an ignorance of not knowing a manual, a constitution, versus actually going into a store, stealing and robbing a bank. Let's stop. Two wrongs, totally different. Ignorance was one, and misconduct was another. Totally different. Totally different.
I totally agree with you. Pastor Watt,
totally different.
We got a court today. The National Church need to withdraw that lawsuit immediately. Me and you on the same page with that. That shouldn't even be, that should have been done, and hopefully to be done soon. So I totally agree with that. My point to you was, Green is able to do that because the culture allows it. That's the only point I was bringing to you. So I brought in my experiences to back up my statement. Now, here's what I was going to get to. King, you can admit this. I don't say anything to you until I send you documentation to back it up. Is that a fact?
Correct.
So it's not my opinion, Pastor Pickett. Whenever I say something, it's backed up by documentation between me and the parties. That's the only. I don't say nothing. I can't back up in black and white. Otherwise, I could get sued and should be sued if I'm misrepresenting things. So me and you on the same page with that. So the question you got to ask yourself is, how is Green able to get away with this? Because it's allowed. That's what I would say.
Well, Moses,
it's allowed.
Moses, I'll say it like this. I agree with you. When I say to some degree it's allowed. Because even with Green, there are things with Green that is not public, but it's known. And if
they cover up stuff.
Wait, hold on. And if we put those things out, and which they want to get out, if those things come out, it's going to be a catastrophic downfall of a snowball, because what is trying to happen is going to hit a lot of people. And
you really want to avoid that.
I mean,
if it I kept a diary for 5 years. Said again, it's a delay.
I said, if it happens, it just happens because what is going on is not okay. But Green has done a lot of things behind the scenes with officials that's not okay. Because if we go
and it's known. They don't care. That's all I'm saying. I'm not putting the church down. I'm saying these are individuals.
That's what Piggott is saying too. But again, I think for the fact that
I'm not saying they don't care. I disagree 1,000%.
no. I'm not saying that you said they don't care. I'm talking about that Green has been doing a lot of stupid stuff behind the scene to get what he wants to get done.
Amen.
Can we agree on that?
Yes, sir. We're bringing it to an open shame. Everything he doing,
Yes.
too hard. We're gonna talk
But
about
if
it.
we go into how Green does what Green does, that's going to be an even bigger mess.
But I guess my question is COGIC aware of all the stuff that Green was doing? It is a bit. Now I have to
They
be
aware.
that is the wait.
All the way
Hold on.
Oh, jelly.
I get it.
I'm gonna say it again.
Okay.
We have a culture.
I'm about to get off,
An
John.
opinion. I have played and worked with the highest levels of bishops in this church. I love them personally. We have a situation and a culture, and that's the word I use, that there's nobody minding the store in them type of situations effectively. That's what I'm trying to say. So I can pick up the phone right now and get a call for the problem. Okay? I know the Judah board members. I know the presiding bishop. You could call them. There is nothing really set up effectively right now that deals with it, especially in a timely manner, if at all. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not putting down the church. It's not the church. It's individuals.
Well, we have a good leadership that you can contact, and that leadership will get to your issues as soon as possible. Our management, our new management.
Well, I'll tell you like this. I have a 5-year diary with a whole lot of issues in there, okay? And I can bring you the individuals. They haven't been dealt with yet.
And that happens. Yes, sir. It's a lot of things on Congress' desk that we're trying to get done for America. So we understand it. We got it. We're going to get it together, though.
No, let me be clear. But I'm being very specific. So I'm not talking in general. I'm saying, so that's the reason why I'm speaking like I speak. So we'll never get nowhere if we just make general statements. Of course we gonna always have problems. Let me be clear. I know that. We're gonna always have problems. There's no perfect organization. But you should be able to point to some people who take care of certain problems. We don't have that right now.
That's an opinion also. I can point to some leaders that can take care of certain problems that will take care of them effectively and efficiently.
Who?
He's not going to say Moses. He's not going to say.
Oh, okay. You don't have to. I'm not going to put him on the spot. But then you know something I don't know.
Yes, sir.
And like I said, I live in headquarters 30-something years, and you can track my history in COGIC. I produce the music.
So what we
I even produced music on First Lady Karen Clark's year.
So what we're gonna do is this: we're gonna table this today.
Okay. I enjoyed y'all.
We're gonna come back because I don't want it to become very dreary. So we're gonna come back, revisit this again, and talk about this another time. We do have a lot of paperwork and things that have to be gone over, and all of those things. I want to make things plain, so that the people understand, because what I don't want and I refuse to happen is that we try to cover up for some and then let other stuff go. I don't want it to seem like that, because
yes, sir.
At all.
We are on the same page. We should have one standard.
Right.
One standard.
So for me, when I look at whether it's Kyle, Green, Watts, Johnson,
Miss Pollard,
Warren, Pollard, anybody, I'm looking at for what was done wrong and what needs to be right. Because again, if we're going to talk about the situations, let's talk about all the situations, and we can all work through it. Because you cannot, and I'm going to say this, I shouldn't be saying this right now, but I'm going to say this. In order for you to work a field, and you got to plant a field, you got to put some shit on the ground, and you got to work that manure into the dirt. Because in order for you to have good flowers, good fields, good harvest and everything, you got to work some shit into the ground. So we got to work through this and get through it. I'm not about to argue about nothing that we got to work through, because this is not the beginning, and this is surely not the end. So I love each and every last one of y'all. I really do. Praise God.
I enjoyed it. Thank God for Pastor Pickett too. Pastor Pickett, you are today and tomorrow. I'm today and yesterday, so you keep doing what you do.
Who just loved the Moses? Got to love him.
And on that note, God bless everybody.